Alrighty, everybody, it is currently Friday, October 17th, 2025, and I'm coming at you live from a lush jungle filled with new ecological opportunities due to the recent mass extinction of the dinosaurs. Because today we're talking about animals of the Paleogene. All right, if you don't know what the Paleogene is, I don't know what it means either. I'll look it up real quick, but it's a weird time in history. People like talking about the dinosaurs and the Ice Age and all that stuff, but what's going on here during the Paleogene? What exactly is it? Because you're thinking meteor just hit the Earth, all the dinosaurs died, the whole situation is fucked up. But it's actually a lot better than you think. I think the dinosaurs were just kind of pussies. Yeah, so Paleogene means ancient born. So it's the first period of the Cenozoic period. So it goes, we live in the Phanerozoic, which is basically all the animals are part of the Phanerozoic, which is back to 541 million years ago. Everything before that, they divided up into different periods and shit, but it's basically all just like the same garbage. Before 540 million years ago and the Phanerozoic. So we live in that, but then there's subgroups in that, right? You've heard of Jurassic. Well, the Jurassic is part of the Mesozoic era, which means middle, and then you have the Paleozoic era, which means really old. And so dinosaurs basically they were around for a couple hundred million years if I remember correctly, and they're all part of that middle Mesozoic. And then the Cenozoic starts and we're in that part, but it's been about 66 million years. So we've been here it's a long while, and we skip over a lot of the middle parts. We go, all right, Ice Age, humans were around then, so we give a shit about like the animals that were there. And then dinosaurs, obviously sick as hell. I want to ride a brontosaurus and I want to fucking fight a velociraptor, sick as hell. But then we kind of forget about all that shit in the middle. And honestly, all the shit before the dinosaurs, there was some cool stuff going on, but dinosaur times, it is terms of animals, uh, pretty sick. But so is the Paleogene, which once again, we're thinking Paleozoic, Mesozoic, Cenozoic. The Jurassic, which you've definitely heard of before, that was like an era, maybe? I don't know exactly, or age. I think Jurassic age sounds correct to me. It was an age that was part of the Mesozoic era. All right, and so that's also what the Paleogene is. You can kind of think of it similar to Jurassic, where it's like it's not the whole thing; it's part of like this greater geological and biological time period. Um, but yeah, this is a very very interesting period in terms of animals and evolution. I think we're probably missing a whole bunch of shit from this time because the way most fossils are created is animal dies, animal gets buried by ash or whatever, and then it decomposes, and then what's basically just left is the bones, and then those bones decompose, they get replaced by minerals. So when people are like, dude, why can't we just fucking clone a T-Rex from a dinosaur fossil, dude? That's because it's not actually a bone. You might hear people call that shit dinosaur bones. It's not a dinosaur bone. It's technically a rock that has been, the bone has essentially been filled in or like slowly replaced over time by um like just various minerals and shit like that. So that's what a fossil is. And so I think we're probably missing a whole lot of fossils from this time period because of the fact that it wasn't like the dinosaurs had that big meteor. And the reason that big meteor killed the whole dinosaurs is, for one, it fucking like boiled the ocean or whatever. Like the ocean around it, not the entire ocean, obviously, but it boiled that part of the ocean, like fucking vaporized it and shit. But it also sent into the air this big like cloud of dust and ash and dirt and all that stuff, which blocked out the sun. Dinosaurs are reptiles. Reptiles need the sun to really get it going on. So obviously they all died. And it's like this perfect mixture of all the dinosaurs dying at the same time, and then also all this sediment like raining down on their bodies to create all these fossils and shit. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm fucking completely wrong about that shit. But to me, the science checks out on it. All right. And as we'll learn from this episode, this isn't the most scientific episode. I tried to include one. I tried to include like one from the big three. And to me, the big three is mammals, birds, and reptiles. Mostly mammals because I'm a mammal and most of the sickest animals are mammals. But there just wasn't that many. There were some pretty sick birds then, but just nothing we don't really see today. Like the most interesting bird um, that was alive during the Paleogene was basically just like a cassowary, which is sick, or it's more like a hawk, but with big ass legs. It's like a hawk and an ostrich mixed together. It's like a hawkstrich. That's basically the coolest bird that existed around then. But I thought, dinosaurs just got taken out of the game. Probably a few of those dudes were still kicking around, and maybe they were for like a little bit. The scientists don't really know, but like Archaeopteryx type shit, which Archaeopteryx is basically a bird. It's like a halfway between a bird and a reptile. But I was thinking we would have some cool reptiles kicking around back then. But it does make sense. The light got blocked out for a big while. Um, so obviously the reptiles couldn't evolve that much. But still some pretty cool reptiles. The coolest one that lived during this era. I'm just gonna talk about it because I didn't. I assume everyone knows this guy, and they know probably most of the things about him. But Titanoboa. You're thinking Titanoboas. They're eating T Rex and Spinosaurus or whatever. No, Titanoboa. He's moving into the game after the dinosaurs all went extinct from the meteor, which makes sense, right? Like you look at a lot of the reptiles that survived that shit. Like we still got turtles. We got like lizards, snakes, all like those types of reptiles. They're like a lot of lizards live in the ground. A lot of snakes live in like burrows or underwater and shit like that. Tortoises, those fuckers are invincible. So it makes sense why those guys were able to survive the mass extinction of the dinosaurs. And yeah, we got a really fucking freaky reptile dude up in here, dude. We got a guy. You think Hillary Clinton's a scary reptile? Wait till you hear about this guy. Fucking terrifying. And we got some. I mean, you're thinking Dinosaur Times is the most scary, dude. I think this might be a little bit scarier than Dinosaur Times. Just like all the shit that was being made. And we're gonna talk about why these crazy fucking dudes started popping up right around then. But I guess I'll just get into it. So, the Paleogene, like I said, was the first period after the extinction of the dinosaurs and lasted from 66 million years ago to 23 million years ago. So, all of these periods have like a geological precedent, if that makes sense. So the way they'll date like dinosaur bones and stuff like that is they'll look at like the layers of rocks above it and underneath it. So that's like part of it. But also a part of it is the biology is also super unique of the animals, right? Obviously you got dinosaurs, these big old lizards that are just like crawling around the earth, eating each other, eating leaves and stuff like that. And that's like kind of biologically unique. It's the age of the reptiles and all that stuff. And I'd say right now, I'm not a scientist, but I'd say we live in the age of mammals. And then also the other thing is like the climate that was going around back then. So 66 million years ago to 23 million years ago, you're probably thinking it's going to be like a nuclear winter, like super cold, right? Because of all like the dust in the air that's blocking out the sun. It was pretty hot around then. It was pretty warm. And what marks the end of it is this is my understanding of it. So Earth used to be a greenhouse planet. It used to be just like we got hella carbon dioxide up in this bitch. We're going fucking crazy. It's hot as hell up in here. Take off all your clothes. Um, that's what used to be going on, and that's what went on for like the vast majority of Earth's history. But around 23 million years ago, maybe because all the animals were dying and the plants and stuff, so all the carbon went into the ground. I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but the Earth started cooling off. So you think about like the Arctic and the Antarctic, and you're thinking like the dinosaurs were in that shit. And there probably was snow around then, but they did not have like these permanent ice caps like we do now. So we went from a greenhouse planet to an ice box planet, I think is like the old terms they use for it, which I'm sure are like outdated terms, but that's what it is. Simply put, is that we used to like everyone talks about global warming and shit. It's real and all that stuff, But for like the vast majority of Earth's history, it was like that's what was going on. But then, for whatever reason, I don't know exactly what it is, the Ice Age, and I think we are technically in an Ice Age because we have these permanent ice caps and stuff like that. The Ice Age started going on, and everything started cooling off, and then obviously the mammals went crazy from there. You know what I mean? Because we don't need the hot sun. We just need food. You know, that's all we need to get our shit going correctly. Which obviously dinosaurs don't have that. The dinosaurs, um, not all of them, but basically every single one of them needed needed heat from the sun and just like heat around them and stuff like that. And to an extent, mammals do too, but to a far lesser extent. All right. So the extinction of the dinosaurs left ecological holes that were filled by birds, mammals, and other types of reptiles. God damn, these ecological holes are freaky as hell. They got filled by 3 different types of animals. Boom. So, so that's why we start getting a lot of cool shit around now. You know, a lot of like weird stuff starts popping up all over the place. Because before, I mean, T Rex, Brontosaurus, Moses, all those guys are cool as shit. You know, they're all very cool, but they're not super like just unique and weird like a lot of these things that started popping up during the Paleogene era. Because during the Paleogene era, it's like, oh fuck, you know, the cat's away, the mice come out to play. That's basically what was going on during the Paleogene. It was like the dinosaurs, the dudes who were like kings of the planet for like, you know, 200 million years or whatever. Those guys are gone. It's time for like the mammals and like the crocodiles to just start having a fucking party together. And that's what they were doing. They were going crazy, being like, who needs teeth, dude? Do you want to lay eggs? Are you a fucking mammal? I don't give a shit, dude. You're laying eggs now. That's what was going on around this time. And they were just popping off, going hog wild. And at this point, we are post Pangea. We are, shit's not exactly where it is now, but it's a lot closer. The continents are a lot more separated than they were during Pangea and all that times. So the Paleogene had some of the hottest global temperatures of the Cenozoic, but a major cooling event happened about 34 million years ago, and this was the first time ice sheets uh, were found or were formed in the Antarctic. So that's crazy, dude. We're thinking Antarctica is always cold, or there's always been some kind of like big old glacier down there or something. No, dude. Only 34 million years ago did we really get this shit going on. So I guess the cooling event started 34 million years ago, but I guess it got really cold around 23 million years ago. And the thing about like these ice ages is, so we talk about like the ice age of, you know, the woolly mammoths and those big old rhinoceros guys and Sid the Sloth and all that. We think of all that shit and we think like that's just what was going on for like all the time before humans pulled up or whatever and the ice age ended. Kinda, but not really. The ice the ice during what we call the ice age, it went down far as fuck. And that wasn't really what was going on for all those 34 million years before that. It was I think it shrunk and it grew a whole lot. Like they had those extreme ice ages and then it would shrink and all that stuff. Um but yeah, you're thinking like it's constantly, you know, Far Cry Primal, uh Ice Age the meltdown type stuff. Not really. It wasn't fully going on like that, but it was a hell of a lot cooler than it was during dinosaur times and during the Paleogene times. Um, so I mean, probably towards the end, it probably got about as like cool as it is now. So we're going to talk about our first dude now. Who is our first dude that was chilling? Our first like weird type of guy that was chilling around this time. Our first dude is this guy called Andrew Sarkis. So Andrew Sarkis, meaning Andrew's ruler, was a wolf-like ungulate, and I'll tell you what that is, that lived in the warmest period of the Paleogene. So an ungulate is like horses. Like anything with hooves, that's an ungulate, basically. But if you want to talk about this, you know how people say birds are dinosaurs? It's just dumb. It's a dumb thing to say, but it is technically true. It's true that birds are dinosaurs. It's also true that whales are ungulates. Cetaceans evolved from animals like the Andrew Sarkis, these wolf-like ungulates that lived around then. And it's also true phylogenetically that humans are fish, right? The fact that, the fun fact or whatever, that birds are dinosaurs is just as true as the fun fact that humans are fish. And so, yeah, this dude was basically like, you're thinking of like a horse type thing. This dude was a lot more like I'm trying to think. He wasn't fully wolfed out. He was more like a Tasmanian devil. If you've ever seen one of those guys, he was still huge as shit, almost like a pig. And we're actually going to talk about these other types of animals that lived around then that were kind of similar to these guys. Think of like a pig, with like the high, almost like hunched shoulders, but then just like a huge, like like not midsection, but like upper torso, like rib area. And then he had like a long ass fucking head. And there was a lot of animals like that existed around then, and one that's like similar to the Andrew decided to start swimming in the water, and that guy became whales. So yeah, this is a pretty weird dude. It's like he's a fucking horse, but he's also kind of similar to like the whales that were swimming around back then. This guy's unusual. So it was alive during the Eocene, which was a time when basically the entire Earth was covered in jungles. Like I said, we had a greenhouse planet that we were dealing with for, I mean, probably like a billion years there. We were dealing with a fucking, you know what I mean, an arboretum or whatever it's called, botanical garden. That was basically the entire Earth for a very large portion of its history. And that's when this guy lived. He was just chilling in the jungles, drinking pina colada, sipping out of coconuts, all that good stuff. And it wasn't like it was jungles. It was just like forests all over the place. So you got to imagine that. It's not just like as hot as a jungle. It is hot. It is muggy as shit. This fucking dude's a halfway between a horse and a fucking wolf, and you're freaking the fuck out. You don't know exactly what's going on. That's when this dude was alive. And I don't know if any of the dudes back then knew what was going on. This was a complicated situation. If you weren't at the top of the fucking food chain back then, you were kind of shit out of luck, dude, because we got some monsters that lived back then. Like I said, you're thinking dinosaurs is the scariest, dude. To me, this is scarier because dinosaur, that's a cold-blooded guy. So he can't, the second it gets cold, it's game over for him. So you just got to wait that fucker out till like nighttime or like winter or whatever, and then you'll be good. But this guy, Andrew Sarkis, halfway between a pig and a fucking wolf, is sprinting at you full speed, and he can keep doing that shit even when it's cold outside. So that to me is scarier. Dinosaurs, it's like, especially being a human, humans can literally like run forever or walk forever. No other animal can like really do it like us. Um, but, still, it's still scary that like this fucking wolf, pig, like almost crocodile type thing. Think of its head almost like a crocodile's head. Was just sprinting around full, just heavy as shit. This guy was fucking huge, just sprinting around at you full speed. Doesn't matter if it's cold or not. He's still going to be able to get you. He was a monster. Monster. And you think, oh, I'm going to go to the water. Mosasaurus and Ichthyosaurus, that guy's dead right now. Fuck no. You thinking no more Loch Ness Monster, Plesiosaur, or whatever that guy's called? Fucking the water isn't safe either. The trees, like I said, Titanoboa existed around then. So you're thinking like the lakes and the rivers are safe? Fuck no. That guy's 60 feet long. He'll eat you for a fucking snack. It is not a great time to be alive. So this guy's living in the jungle, and due to its cranial structure, it is believed that Andrewsarchus is closely related to entelodonts or entelodonts, I don't know how you say it, aka hell pigs. If you don't know what this guy's like a werewolf pig. It has like these big, long fucking legs, these sharp teeth, like this fucking angry look in his head. That's what a hell pig is. It's an accurate name for it. And these guys are fucking scary as shit. They're probably more scary than Andrew Sarkis, but I didn't want to talk about them because I felt like that's probably something most people have heard of before. I'm trying to get into like the weird nasty up in here. It's jungle, it's hot, muggy jungle time. It's time to get weird and nasty and a little bit funky. So, and he was closely related to these guys, but his legs were a little bit shorter. Like these hell pigs, you look these motherfuckers up. They look like they're 12 foot tall at the shoulder. It is, I mean, utterly terrifying. And like I said, he can sprint at you for a while. Yeah, this one has fucking teeth growing out of the side of his head, like teeth going through his cheeks. He's gonna beat the shit out of you. And it's, sometimes they look a little innocent, and their mouths are fucking huge. It is, god damn, they're so fucking scary. And this guy, Andrew Sarkis, he's a little bit shorter, but I feel like he's almost like a little running back or something like that, like a little Jalen Warren or whatever, where it's like all that muscle and all like that small space just makes him all the more dangerous when he gets up on you. Like these hell pigs, you might be a little bit more agile than him because you got a lower center of gravity, you're closer to the ground, you might be able to juke that dude out. Andrew Sarkis, he's also pretty close to the ground too. His legs are a bit longer than yours. He is pretty big, but I don't think you're juking this guy out. I do think you could juke a hell pig out, but this other guy, I don't know about that. I don't know if you could fully juke him out. So Andrew Sarkis was likely omnivorous and was one of the last non-herbivorous ungulates. I guess excluding cetaceans like whales and stuff like that. So yeah, he's got this big old head. He's got these sharp old teeth. Like I said, he's kind of like a pig wolf almost. But he's also munching on some roots and some berries and all that stuff. And he might not even be munching on you. That's the other thing. They don't know exactly what this guy munched on. But yeah, he was one of the last. He was one of the last holdouts. He was chilling there with the hell pigs and all that stuff. And I guess you do have like pigs now are omnivorous, and most of the other ungulates will eat a little bit of meat if they can get their hands on it, right? Like cows will fucking eat. Goddamn. Cows will eat mice or whatever. So they're not like fully herbivorous, but for the most part, cow's gonna be munching on grass. A pig's gonna be munching on like tree roots or whatever. But our guy Andrew Sarkis, he wasn't afraid to get into the meat a little bit. You know what I mean? He was a real piggy about that shit. He was a real ditty about it. He wasn't afraid to fucking, put his mouth on the meat. So, and this guy, he is only known from one skull, which is 3 feet long, dude. His head is 3 feet long, like I said. And imagine like an alligator type head, where it's kind of like it's a triangle. That's the type of head that this guy had. And so from the size of its head, they estimated that its length is 12 feet tall and that its height is 6 feet tall, dude. This is a 6 foot tall, 12 foot long, fucking alligator headed pig wolf just sprinting around on hooves, dude. You just hear that. You hear like the thundering of like the, and you're like, oh, this is buffalo, this is a horse or whatever. No, it's Andrew Sarkis with his fucking alligator head coming to eat you alive, dude. Just rip you to pieces. And he had some sharp ass teeth on him too. You're thinking like horse, sheep, even pig or whatever. This guy had like dog teeth on him. Like real fucking wolf teeth on him, ready to just rip fucking chunks out of you. And he had hooves, so he could run fast as shit. He had like those little twinkle toes and stuff. This guy is no one to fuck around with. So I'm saying it's going to run at you. It's not necessarily built for speed, but its powerful crushing jaws imply that it was a scavenger capable of eating bones. This guy's eating on the meat. He's eating on the bones. This is all we got against him at this point, because this thing is fucking terrifying. I think by the estimation, they said it could run like 15 miles an hour or something like that. That's pretty fucking fast. That's most people at full tilt. Maybe you get a little bit faster than that, but most people at full speed aren't going much faster than this guy. And he could also just crush bones with his giant 3 foot long head, dude. His head is a fourth of his fucking height. I'm a pretty short dude. I don't think my head is a fourth of my height. I'm a short dude with a giant head. And I don't think I got, proportionally as much head as this dude, Andrew Sarkis. This guy has the most fucking head of all time. Pause. But he does have a huge fucking head, and it is a giant portion of his body. And it's just so fucking... He's got the muscles on there. He's got a jawline like a fucking Adonis, just ready to crush the bones and eat the marrow on the inside. This is what Andrew Sarkis is doing. And he's just... And it's all jungle all the time. So we don't even have like savannas or like open plains to run on. Like that's kind of how humans evolved. We're not exactly built for the jungle. We're more so built for just like slowly jogging over like an open field or something like that. We don't even have this in this time period. This is all like thick forest that you gotta like tramp through. So this guy, the pig, he might get you, dude. Our boy, the fucking wolf pig, he might come and get you. So its closest living relatives are whales and dolphins. So that's our first guy that we did. Um, like I said, he's pretty similar to the dude that turned into whales and dolphins, um, but terrifying all the same. He's not fully the scariest. This next one might be the scariest. I think of the, I don't know. No, he's not the scariest. The next guy we're doing, in my personal opinion, is the second scariest. Like I said, basically everything that lived back then was fucking terrifying, dude. Even like the herbivores. Like if you've ever seen, there's, I forget the fucking name of it, but there's this animal that was, it was kind of like a giraffe and it had a big nose, but it walked on its knuckles. Even that fucker is scary, and all he's eating is like leaves and fucking algae or whatever. I don't know what he munched on, but he's not eating people, and he's still fucking terrifying. You know. So imagine how much scarier it would be if that dude was eating meat. Imagine how much scarier it would be if Andrew Sarkis was like fully hunting things down and eating them instead of eating old bones or whatever, the things that have already been killed. He he might have been more hyena type. I'm trying to take a little bit of hype away from this guy so you really get scared when we talk about the second one. He might have been more of like a hyena type of thing of like the whatever the fuck, saber-toothed tiger. I don't know if saber-toothed tiger lived back then, but whatever animal, apex predator, he kills the thing, and then our boy Andrew Sarkis pulls up and munches on, whatever's left. That might have been more so what Andrew Sarkis was doing as opposed to like jumping out of the fucking woods at you and munching you whole in one bite. So he's scary. He's got a scary build and stuff like that, but I don't think he's gonna be munching on you. I don't think he's gonna be eating you. He's probably not gonna be chasing you down. He's got pretty short legs compared to his body, but he is very muscular. So you don't want to get up on him. So on the danger scale, I'd rate him like probably a 6. 6? I would say 6 though. Is probably a fair rating for our boy Andrew Sarkis. And we're not going on like a grading scale where like 70 is average. I'm more going on like 50 is like an average scariness. So maybe he is a 7. I'll put Andrew Serkis at a 7, but I think if you just like leave him alone, you're going to be fine. But our next guy, he's coming after you. He's gonna be munching on your glutes, on your quads, on your hamstrings. He's gonna be getting the whole shebang. So our next guy is this guy called Pristichampsis. Pristichampsis. So Pristichampsis was a crocodilian with long legs adapted to a terrestrial lifestyle. So terrestrial means on land. Um, Crocodilian obviously means this dude's like a crocodile. He's like a gator, but he's got long ass legs. We've all seen those videos of gators running before, and look, they can get up to some decent speed, but you can tell. You can tell when a gator's running, he ain't really built for that. Like those videos of it, yeah, it's scary, but you can also see he's like wobbling on him. He's like a toddler or whatever, trying to figure out, exactly how to run. That's kind of how these modern gators run. Our boy Pristichampsis, I'll just call him P. Our boy Big P, he's got legs designed for running. He's gazelle type. He's ready to fucking get after you. And he lives on land too, which makes him even scarier because like a regular crocodile or an alligator, it's like I'm just not gonna go near the water. But this guy, he'll fucking pop out at you from wherever. I'm sure he could chill in the water too. He's still got that crocodile type thing going on where he has like his eyes and his nose on the top of his head so he can just keep his head above water. This guy can come at you from fucking all angles, and we should be thanking Christ that he got taken out of the game. So it lived in North America and Europe around the same time period as Andrew Sarkis. So Andrew Sarkis, he lived in like Mongolia and China and all that stuff. So we're safe from him, but we're not safe from our boy Big P over here. Like Big P, he was probably chilling, I would guess like Eastern Seaboard if it says he lived in Europe too. He was probably chilling around there. Just long ass fucking legs like a Victoria's Secret model, ready to pop out at you, sprint full speed, and rip you to shreds. So it had long legs with hoof-like stroke. Dude, everything has fucking hoofs back then. Even the fucking whales had hoofs back in the fucking Paleogene times. This is crazy. This is getting out of hand. What are you gonna tell me next? That a bird had hooves on it? fucking everything's got hooves. It's annoying me a little bit. It's like, God, find something else, guys. It's just like, Andrew Sarkis or the Hell Pigs or whatever. Those guys figured out hooves, and then everyone else started copying them. Big P was like, yo, let me get some hooves too. And it's like, dude, Big P, you got to figure out your own thing. All right. Andrew Sarkis already figured out. He's already the predator with the hooves, dude. We can't have another fucking, carnivore with the hooves. He's the only one. But he had long legs with hoof-like structures and a rounded tail, implying that it was almost fully terrestrial. So you look at an alligator, and the sides of its tail are like kind of flat, so that it can like push the water like an oar or a propeller or whatever and move itself through the water. Andrew Sarkis, he's got a little bit shorter of a tail and it's a little bit more rounded. So if he tries to wiggle that tail in the water, he's not going to be fucking going anywhere. So I guess if this dude's getting after you and you're feeling like you're in a tight situation, you could hop in the water and probably do a decent job of outswimming him because he has hooves, he has a little short, round, stumpy tail, but he's still a crocodile. So he still might be able to fucking munch you alive. But that's maybe the best thing you could do in this situation. So this is where it gets really fucking scary. Some scientists speculate it may have been bipedal when running at full speed, but due to its forward center of gravity, it probably spent most of its time on four legs. And to me, the spending most of its time on four legs makes it even scarier. Like, if this dude was just chilling, walking around on two legs all the time, at least you're prepared for that. At least you're like, oh shit, I know this guy, he just walks around on two legs. That's how he does this shit. But if he's just like slowly like alligator walking around on four legs and you're like, fucking I ain't scared of this dude, and then he pops up on two legs, and he can only pop up on two legs allegedly when he's going full speed. So he's just kind of running at you, galloping or whatever, and you're like, all right, I can fucking deal with this shit. And then he gets up on two legs and starts pumping his fucking arms like Usain Bolt, sprinting at you full speed. It must have been just so fucking terrifying, dude. Like I said, I think this is more scary than dinosaur times. Dinosaur times, most of the predators were like way bigger than you, so they're not going to be dealing with you, And plus, if you can just outrun them, you'll be fine, But this guy, he's ready for you, and plus, you get away from this guy, you run all the way to Asia. Andrew Sarkis is waiting there to munch you alive. You are shit out of luck, buddy. So, Big P had more thin, razor-like teeth for slicing through flesh, as opposed to conical teeth for holding on to struggling fish. So that's the type of teeth that like alligators and crocodiles have, where it's just like a spike, basically, coming out of its mouth. But Andrew Sarkis, it was more thin, so it could like slice through you and fucking make you bleed and like hold on to you and shit. Or I guess not hold on to you, but like slice through you, make you bleed out. Then he munches you, dude. He gets up on two legs, sprints at you full speed. He's got the bite force of a fucking crocodile in his mouth with razor sharp teeth. Teeth that are literally like razors. And he just takes your whole fucking arm off. I don't know if any dinosaurs are doing shit like that. I don't know if any dinosaurs had teeth like our boy Big P over here. I feel like velociraptors, they also had those thin teeth. You almost think of Big P's teeth as more like a wolf, right? Where it's like thin, kind of flat, and he can just like kind of bite on you and like rip through you, as opposed to like biting onto you and like clamping down like a classical alligator or crocodile. But he still has a head like a fucking crocodile. So I imagine he has kind of a similar bite force thing going on. So its long legs likely evolved to chase prey over grassy clearings after ambushing from the woodline. So we do have a strategy to kind of beat this guy out a little bit. So mostly jungles, but you do have a few grassy clearings here and there. What you're going to do is you're going to walk through the middle of the grassy clearing. All right. So this guy he won't have a chance to pop out at you. If you walk on the wood line, he's going to be able to pop out at you, and then it's game over. But if you're walking like right through the middle of the field, yeah, you might have to deal with some other shit, but you're not going to be dealing with a fucking crocodile with razor teeth that's sprinting at you on two legs. It's the trade-off that you're going to have to deal with. You're just going to have to walk through the middle of the field as opposed to walking along the wood line, eating berries, picking fruit, or whatever. It's just, it's better than being eaten by a fucking crocodile. All right. And he's, once again, this is a reptile that we're dealing with. So he's built for short bursts of speed, but he's still running on two legs at you. So, and we're built for the opposite of short bursts of speed. So he might be able to get us in this game, but I don't think so. I think if we play smart, if we play complementary football, he's not going to be able to get us. So, unfortunately, as the Earth cooled down, it went extinct due to the thinning of forests, not necessarily how cold it got, right? Obviously, we have alligators and crocodiles still alive today, so they can clearly live in those cooler climates. For him, it was more so a problem of the forests were thinning out, so his opportunities to ambush from the wood lines, they just kept getting more and more limited. The grassy clearings got bigger, so these things could just walk through the grassy clearings and just stay clear of the wood line. So that's how he got taken out. It wasn't the cold that got him, it was the lack of food. And fucking thank Christ it did, dude. I do not want a goddamn gator galloping at me. All right. Galloping Gators would be a good name for a college football team, though. I don't know. They said this guy's from America, so I mean there could be a college football team out there. Let's say you find a fossil on your campus, or your campus has a fossil. Go with Galloping Gators, dude. It's a very sick name. Sounds like an FBS type of team. Would be or FCS. Yeah, FCS type team. All right. Next guy, to me, this is number one most scary. All right, and spoiler alert, it's because I'm scared of the ocean. So that is a spoiler. This guy is from the ocean. But I feel like overall, he's fucking terrifying. You got to stay clear of the water. We're just going to have no more beaches, no more salt life. We're staying clear of the water because this dude is chilling in the water and he's prepared to eat you. So this guy, you might have heard of him before. This is probably the most well-known one. This guy is called Basilosaurus. So Basilosaurus, meaning king lizard, was an early whale that lived from 41.3 million years ago to 33.9 million years ago. So kind of because of his head shape, they thought he was a reptile like Big P. Because, like I said, it was the guys like Andrew Sarkis that turned into the whales. Not Andrew Sarkis himself, he didn't turn into a whale, but guys like him did eventually end up turning into a whale. So these early whales, they still had like that crocodile head and like those Andrew Sarkis, like crocodile, like wolf type of teeth going on. Maybe not like fully like that, but pretty similar. And so they thought with this like kind of triangle, like narrow head shape, they thought he was a lizard. But Basilosaurus, king lizard, very good name, even if he is a mammal, even if he is a whale. So Basilosaurus, it's I guess technically a genus, which includes two species, with one living in North America and the other living in the Mediterranean. And I think the one that lived in North America, he was the huge one. He was the giant guy. And I think they just discovered like a fossil or something like this, or maybe this is something that's been going on, but I recently heard about some other member of the Basilosaurus genus that that may be the largest thing that ever lived, like heaviest thing that ever lived. Because I guess the way it's built, it's not like longer than a blue whale. Like a blue whale's like fucking 100 feet long. This guy, one of the guys, one of the Basilosaurus type guys, he was maybe like 70 feet long, but he was just fucking fat as shit. Like literally just round as hell. He just had like a big rib cage or whatever, which look, I can empathize with. I also have a pretty wide rib cage. So, but that I don't really know too much about this. The ones we're focusing on, they're a bit smaller, but they're still fucking gigantic. So it lived in warm, shallow seas and preyed on sharks, large fish, and marine mammals, including the Durodon, which was a 16-foot dolphin-like whale. So I haven't told you about how big this guy is, but he's eaten 16 feet long whales that are basically dolphins. And he's not even out in the open ocean. right? Like I said, beach day is fucking canceled. No more beach day. No more going out on the boat trying to catch a red snapper or whatever. Basilosaurus is down there lurking, fucking eating whales. This guy is literally a whale eater. And he's living in the shallow seas, getting ready to munch on you, right? Like orcas. They call them killer whales because they can kill whales. They can't, but like, I don't know. There might be a few populations that exclusively feed on whales or whatever, but I think for the most part, they're eating seals, sharks. There's even like ones that eat salmon and stuff like that. But this guy, Basilosaurus, he's eating whales for real. Like they think that the Dorodon was like a major, like a keystone part of Basilosaurus diet. They think that was like a big part of what he was munching on. So he's not just casually. He can't like just kill a whale. He kills whales all the time, and he fucking eats them too, dude. And he's munching on them. And this guy, he doesn't just like he's not like a gator or whatever, where like a gator rips off a piece of the food and then like throws it up in the air and eats it. That's not how Basilosaurus eats. Basilosaurus eats like a dude. He is fucking munching on whatever he's eating on. So if you this thing isn't just gonna tear off a leg or whatever. He's just gonna like munch you whole. It is fucking scary as shit. So it was 56 to 66 feet long and weighed 17 tons due to its elongated body, and this is terrifying. Uh, some scientists, what the fuck? I wrote Shane scientists. What? I meant to write some. I guess I wrote Shane instead of some. Some scientists believe it swam like a giant snake or an eel. All right, ignore the thing I said about writing down Shane scientist. That was a fucking accident. But this thing is 66 feet long, swimming through the water like a fucking snake, dude. Like, I'm still scared of whales and all that shit, but at least they have like that long, like graceful, like they swim pretty beautifully. This guy's like, like back and forth like an S shape, just like going through the water, getting ready to fucking munch you, weighing 17 tons. He might not even go after us at that point. We might not be worth it for Basilosaurus to eat. And also, this is an early whale. So you're thinking whales, you're thinking like Avatar 2. These guys are kind of smart. Not this guy. He's basically like a fucking, pig or a horse or whatever. He's very, very stupid. So he doesn't even have like the empathy that like a whale might have. Like sperm whales are smart as shit. So they might be able to have a little bit of empathy and be like, I shouldn't eat humans because humans are like conscious creatures or whatever, or they're like smart. Like orcas have like plenty of opportunity to eat people. They just don't do it because they just, I don't know. I guess they just don't want to eat us. So I think because they know, like a fucking human's a good snack, and an orca's smart enough to know that it can like look at us and be like, "That's I could eat that," but it doesn't because it's like a nice dude or whatever. But Basilosaurus, this guy's dumb. He lived like millions of years ago. What was it, 33 million years ago? He's not very smart. His brain hasn't fully evolved yet, so he's not smart enough to like recognize the situation and be like, "This is a conscious human being, and I shouldn't eat this." He's gonna munch on us no matter what. But I do think the one advantage that we have is that we are too small. We're too small. A little guy might come after you every once in a while, but I think we're kind of safe from this guy. I think we're safe from Basilosaurus because we're just too small. So, and another thing is, despite its massive size, Basilosaurus is believed to only have the bite force equivalent to a crocodile or an alligator. And I don't know if this is like shitting on Basilosaurus or if this is like a compliment to alligators. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell. Maybe alligators do have like the strongest bite force in the world, so this might be a little bit of a compliment to Basilosaurus. But dude, it's like Basilosaurus. You're also 17 tons. You're 66 feet long, dude. You're like 3 times bigger than the next biggest alligator. You should have a stronger bite force than him. I'm not. And look, we don't know. We haven't been able to interview the guy, ask him the questions himself, be like, what's your bite force? How many PSI are we dealing with? So we don't really know how big of a bite force exactly that we're dealing with here. But he does have, like I said, that crocodile shaped like triangle head. I think he had like a similar pokey teeth like that. So we got to imagine that the guess is pretty accurate. The guess is pretty, and he has a small head. Like, you can look at pictures of him. He doesn't have like a big, huge blue whale head or whatever. He has a pretty small head. So, I mean, I'm not shitting on him that much. I understand why his bite force isn't that strong. At a certain point, at a certain point, it's just like, what's the point of having a stronger bite force? So I'm not fully shitting on the guy, but I do think he could step his game up a little. No disrespect to Basilosaurus. I'm terrified of the ocean. You swim like a fucking eel or a snake, and that's terrifying to me. But it is a little bit like, come on, man. You could step up your game. you know. All right, so, and also, due to wear marks found on fossilized teeth, and I guess also fossilized bones of the prey, it is theorized that it killed its prey by aiming for the head, which makes sense because it doesn't have teeth like Big P. Like, remember Big P? He had the teeth where he could like slice through you, make you bleed, and all that stuff. Basilosaurus has more like pokey type teeth. So it's just got to fucking crush your head in one go. And a human head compared to this guy is a pretty small target. So I guess it makes sense. He wouldn't be that dangerous to us. But still, he lives in the shallow seas. He swims, I mean, probably fast as fuck, swimming like an eel. The one thing that does make him a little less scary is he does have like these little uh like quadriplegic kind of flappy legs at the back. Just like barely poking out of him a little bit. They're vestigial mostly, but it does look a little bit embarrassing where it's like, dude, that's you seriously, you call those a pair of fucking legs? How about you go do some squats? Basilosaurus. Not disrespecting the guy at all. If you come back, I'm on your fucking team. I'll fight against the humans. Whatever. Just please don't make me go in the ocean, dude. Please do not eat me. Basilosaurus. All right, and then our final guy. This is a bird. He's not exactly a Paleogene type of guy, but kind of very late Paleogene is what we're dealing with here. And this guy, it's a group of birds called Pelagornis. And you're thinking like this guy's gonna be like a pelican. Maybe you're thinking of like a huge pelican or a pelican that eats sharks or whatever. That might be scarier than what we're gonna be looking at here. This guy isn't too terrifying. So Pelagornis, kind of like Basilosaurus, is an extinct genus of albatross-like birds that lived just after the Paleogene. All right, the birds going on in the Paleogene, it wasn't that interesting. I was looking it up. I was like, what's the most interesting ones? It was like this one thing that was like, it's kind of like a hummingbird, but it eats bugs. And I'm like, dude, I mean, good for that guy, but I got to deal with something cooler than that. He's got to have a bit more going on than just like a hummingbird type of thing that eats bugs. And the only other like next coolest option that I could come up with was basically like a dinosaur that may or may not have been alive. And it's, like I said, an Archaeopteryx type of thing where it's, I mean, it is a dinosaur and it's cool to look at, but this episode isn't about dinosaurs. This is about the weird things that popped up during the Paleogene. And Pelagornis, he's got some interesting things about him. Not the most terrifying. This guy's definitely the least dangerous of all of these guys, but still pretty interesting. And he could get you. I don't think he could kill you, but he could get you for sure. So it had short, stumpy legs, which means it was probably only able to fly by jumping off of cliffs. Look, I hate to disrespect the birds. I'm a big bird guy. I really like parrots. They say funny stuff. They look funny. There's that parrot that the guy taps on the object and he's like, what type of object is this? And the bird goes, metal. I like that guy. I'm chill with birds. Penguins are cool as fuck. My mom loves hummingbirds. All the women in my family really like birds. But it's just, I mean, look at this guy. We're dealing with crocodiles that can sprint on two legs. We got like a wolf pig hybrid type thing. We got a whale that swims like an eel that fucking eats you by crunching on your head. And then this guy's like, his legs are so small that he can only fly by jumping off of stuff. I don't mean it to be disrespectful to him, but at the same time, I mean, we had dinosaurs and shit, dude. You can't figure out something else out to do. You can't get hooves. Everyone else has hooves. I kind of would be stoked to see a bird with hooves at this point, compared to a guy whose legs are so small and like stumpy that he can't even fly by himself. He has to jump off a cliff before he does it. This is basically a suicidal bird that we're dealing with. This bird is like, I don't want to be alive. I'm gonna jump off this cliff, and then just its wings are so big that it flies. It's or not even flies, it glides. This bird, we don't even know if it was capable of flying. It might have just glided everywhere. Which that's kind of cool, but still, man, you're a bird. You're supposed to fly. And it's not like penguins. Like at least penguins can like dash through the water and make like those bubble trails and all that stuff. This guy can't even do that. He's just gliding around. He's not even flapping his wings, making the air move for him. He's waiting for the air to move. He's catching like drafts and stuff like that. I don't know. To me, it's a little bit lazy. And I'm not going to say I'm glad he's extinct, but I don't know. I'd rather have, you know, Big P here than this guy, Pelagornis. Is what it is. And also, due to its weight, some scientists believe it couldn't fly at all, but rather used its 20-foot wingspan to glide along the coasts and open ocean. Look, we're not to the coolest part of him yet, but he really only has one cool part. Like, at least all the other guys, like Andrew Sarkis, he had some cool parts. He had, like, the big giant head. He was huge. He had hooves. He could, like, sprint at you out of the woods and stuff like that. Big P, I think he speaks for himself. Basilosaurus, I mean, just terrifying. And then we have this guy who's like, he's almost so fat that he can't fly. That scientists are like, we don't know if he was able to fly or not. I don't know. And the most interesting thing about these birds were their pseudo-teeth that were large, sharp protrusions along the beak that allowed it to grab fish. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing about it, is that it had like kind of sharp, like a saw almost on its beak so that it could grab fish and munch on fish. He's not even eating like cool stuff. Basilosaurus was crushing fucking other whales' heads with its head and it was eating them. This guy, Pelagornis, he's just eating fish with his fucking. He doesn't even have real teeth. He has fucking pseudo teeth, dude. It's embarrassing. It's. And I hate to say it about the guy. He seems like a decent guy to me, but you're lazy. You can't fly by yourself. And the coolest thing about you is that you don't even have teeth. You just have like sharp spots on your beak, dude. And clearly you don't need those. We still have seagulls and pelicans to this day that don't need, these fake ass teeth like Pelagornis has. Like I said, I hate to talk shit about the guy, and the birds in general, but you guys got to step the fucking game up, dude. You had the same opportunity as the mammals. After the dinosaurs went extinct, the birds could have done what the mammals did. And look, like I said, they've done some cool stuff since then. They've taken their opportunity and they've done some interesting things, but I can't think of a single area where birds outperform mammals. Maybe like eating nectar. That's all they got, dude. I don't know. Call me a hater. It's just how I feel about it. And then I guess this is another cool fact. So the largest of these birds had a wingspan of up to 24 feet, making it the widest wingspan of any known bird ever. I hate to end on that. I really do, but blame Pelagornis, dude. Go up to Pelagornis and be like, dude, what the fuck is that bullshit? That's the best you could do, or the birds in general. This isn't just on Pelagornis. People might blame Pelagornis for being like, oh, birds are lame during the Paleogene. No, dude. It's all of them. The coolest one they had going on was that hawk-ostrich combination. Pretty cool, but it's like you're basically just a velociraptor at that point. And Velociraptor's cool, but he already did the thing. So now you're just kind of stealing from Velociraptor. I don't know. All right, 54 minutes. It's fucking good enough. No one fucking listens to this anyway. Who gives a shit? I hope you guys have a good day, a good week, a good year, a good life, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.